Hey folks. Characters, personalities, NPCs, or whatever you'd like to call those that make up the life of a video game. They are no stranger to The Legend of Zelda's Kingdom of Hyrule, and this is very prominent in the latest installment, Tears of the Kingdom. All across the land we meet tons of interesting and unforgettable characters such as... sorry, what was your name? Baz. Ah yes, Baz, of course. How could I forget? From Hylians to Zora, Gerudo, Gorons and Rito, and even the Zonai. Kinda. I don't know about you guys, but my brain rarely allows me to actually talk to NPCs and not just skip over all of the text and process none of it. However, on rare occasions I do, and I found that certain characters across the land actually have very fascinating things to say, and there is one person in particular that I'd like to tell you about and share their story, as I found it incredibly unique. This is the story and mystery of Hyrule's Gifted Child. Get yourselves comfortable, and as always folks, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink, and send them in to get featured right here, and let's get into this one. This story begins at the Woodland Stable, however, not in Tears of the Kingdom. A few years prior, during the events of the first game in this era, Breath of the Wild, we meet a young Hylian girl here by the name of Shamae. She lives here with her grandfather Ashe, or Ash. There is a little side quest to complete with her, which is actually where we learn just how interesting this girl's story is. The side quest involved showing her balloons flying high into the sky, but it's the reason for this which is fascinating. Shamae tells us that sometimes in her dreams, she sees a land high in the sky, asking, "Do you think that people once lived up there?" I'm sure this link would be rather taken back by that question. However, us as players might have connected that with Skyloft from Skyward Sword. Keep in mind, these words were said and put into the game long before Tears of the Kingdom was ever made. She talks about wanting to reach the land in the sky, and that her dream is to ride a big bird, also something we as players can connect to Loftwings of Skyward Sword. We meet her once again in Tears of the Kingdom, and she is once again fascinated with what's going on in the sky. Only this time around, there is actually something for her to see. She really is living the dream and her best life, as back when she was talking about living in the sky just a few years ago, nobody would have predicted actual sky islands to appear. What seemed like her imagination technically did become a reality, even though she was describing Skyloft, not these sky islands. These are still islands in the sky, so it's all the same to her, you'd imagine. It's a really awesome little story, and it's cool to see her reaction to the new views above. However, this doesn't end here. In fact, there might be a lot more to the story, as isn't it a bit odd that this young Hylian of the Wilds era knows of a time very long ago, and in somewhat good detail. It's all well and good at base value, a little reference and Easter egg always fits nicely in a Zelda game, but why does she know this? How can it be explained? Logically, I know this is just a fun nod to Skyward Sword, but as a Zelda lore focused channel, it is my duty to think about this within the in-game lore terms. How does a young girl of her age know about the life of a time frame that is literally at the opposite end of recorded history, and in somewhat decent detail too? Nobody in this time knows or mentions that. The only reference to that time frame is by Zelda herself, and it's just the word Skyward. The established timeline which we know is at least 10,000 years prior to the era of Wilds, and there's a bunch of legends by this point, really hitting the name of the series on the head. Tales, stories, and lost history. But yet, Shamae knows all about Skyloft and how life was lived back then, saying she sees it in her dreams and that she believed long ago people lived in the sky, even detailing that if she even gets there, she'll ride a big bird. That's her dream. Her dreams seem to be the key here. It has something to do with them, or something going on in her mind. For the sake of ruling it out, I will mention now that whilst this could be a coincidence that she dreams about this, it would be an insanely massive one given it matches one for one in detail with something we know for a fact is completely true and a part of history in this world. To try and explain this, it might actually be related to an unexplainable phenomenon that happens in real life. Have you ever heard any of the many cases of young children reporting memories of a past life? In detail. Memories of a completely different person from a completely different point in time. Whether you have or haven't heard of this, it does happen, and it's a strange but yet fascinating occurrence that we cannot explain yet, or might not ever. However, there are some theories and ideas. What I'm suggesting here is that maybe Shamae experiences this, and still has the occasional dream about it. From my research on this phenomenon, it typically tends to occur with children between the ages of 2 and 5. There or thereabouts. Shamae appears a little bit older, but probably not by much. Even so, she might just remember things well as the fact that she says the words, "I sometimes see it in my dreams." That quote is from Breath of the Wild, where she would have been even younger than she is now. If this is the case, Shamae could have a connection to somebody from Skyloft. Is this a gift? Is it a curse? Whether that's somebody we saw, or somebody prior to when we see the island, I cannot say. But why is this? Well, one of those theories on why this occurs takes the approach of this being a matter of there being one soul that lives through multiple people's lives. In itself, this is a very popular and well-known idea, that we all lived a past life and will live future lives. It's our soul that carries on. I am definitely not educated enough to go further into the topic, but that's the general idea from what I've gathered. Nobody else told her of these things. She says that she dreams about it. She is of young age when we first hear about this, and there isn't any explanation as to how else she would know this. Nobody knows this. In my opinion, it either has to be a case of this phenomenon, or it's all highly, and I cannot emphasize this word enough, highly coincidental, which I did rule out earlier as I simply don't think that can be the case. I refuse to believe that this would just be a coincidence, and I do believe that logically the in-game reason is this occurrence which we also see in real life. If so, is Shamae gifted? I personally think so, in a way. It's an odd one, I don't really know how to describe this. If this is the case, how many other lives has this soul lived? It's all very deep, and like I said, it's something I myself only know very little about. Shamae is one of the most interesting characters to talk to in Hyrule. Next time you're playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, be sure to go and talk to her. What do you think of Shamae's story and what the in-game reason could be? Let me know. I found her story fascinating back in Breath of the Wild, and seeing her again in Tears of the Kingdom made me really want to make a video dedicated to her and her love for the Sky Islands. I wonder what she'll do when she grows up. Maybe she'll study the sky. Hyrule is full of unique characters and stories. If there's anyone else you'd like to see me make a video about, just let me know down below in the comments and I'll see if I can make it possible. A very special thanks goes to all of my channel supporters for helping to make these videos possible, with a special mention to new supporter, Anarchy Dude. Much appreciated, my dude. If you join today, you'll get instant access to behind the scenes content, a shout out upon joining, and your name on screen right here with the rest of these lovelies. The links are below, as are my socials, where you can keep up to date or join the Discord server. I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you all have an amazing day or night wherever you are, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.